Have you ever tried very hard to make people like you? Have you ever said yes when you wanted to say no? Have you ever helped everyone, but felt that nobody truly respected you? If your answer is yes, this story is for you. Today, you will meet a man named Ethan. He was kind. He was honest. He worked hard. Everyone said he was a good person, but deep inside, Ethan had one big problem. He wanted everyone to respect him. He believed that respect came from pleasing people. So he always agreed. He never argued. He never said no. He always put other people first. Thought this would make people value him. But something very different happened. The more he tried to please people, the less they respected him. His friends called him only when they needed help. His co-workers gave him extra work. His neighbors asked for favors again and again. Nobody asked him one simple question. How are you? Every night, Ethan looked into the mirror. He asked himself, why does this happen to me? I do so much for everyone. Why do I still feel invisible? One rainy Monday morning, Ethan arrived at work early. His office was quiet. He made coffee for himself. A few minutes later, his manager walked in. Ethan, the manager said, can you finish David's report today? Ethan looked surprised. But I already have my own work. The manager smiled. I know, but you always help. Ethan stayed silent. He wanted to say, I'm already busy. But instead, he smiled. Sure. The manager thanked him and walked away. By lunchtime, Ethan was stressed. His own work was still waiting. David was laughing with other coworkers. Nobody offered to help Ethan. Nobody even noticed how tired he looked. That evening, Ethan left the office very late. Outside, the rain had stopped. The streets were wet. The city lights reflected on the road. He felt tired, not only in his body, but also in his heart. As he slowly walked home, he saw an old man sitting on a park bench. The old man was feeding birds. He looked peaceful. Ethan did not know why, but he decided to sit beside him. For a few minutes, neither of them spoke. Finally, the old man smiled. You look like a man who carries the whole world on his shoulders. Ethan laughed softly. I just want people to respect me. The old man looked at him carefully. Then he asked one question. Tell me, do you respect yourself? Ethan became completely silent. No one had ever asked him that before. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. For the first time in many years, he realized he did not know the answer, and that single question was about to change his life forever. The old man smiled. He picked up a small stone from the ground. Then he threw it into the quiet lake. The water moved in small circles. He looked at Ethan. Do you see those circles? Ethan nodded. They started with one small stone. The old man smiled again. Life is the same. One small choice can change everything. Double quotes. Ethan listened carefully. The old man asked, tell me something. When was the last time you said no? Ethan thought for a moment. Then he laughed. I don't remember. Why? Because I don't want people to be angry with me. The old man nodded. I understand. But let me ask you another question. Are they happy because they love you? Or because you always make life easy for them? Ethan looked down. He had never thought about that. The old man continued. Many people confuse kindness with people pleasing. They are not the same. A kind person helps because he chooses to. A people pleaser helps because he is afraid. Afraid of losing people. Afraid of being rejected. Afraid of not being accepted. Ethan felt those words deep inside his heart. They sounded painfully true. The old man pointed to a large tree. Look at that tree. It gives shade. It gives fresh air. It helps everyone. But does the tree run after people? No. People come to the tree. The old man smiled. Real respect works the same way. You do not chase it. You grow into it. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Only the sound of birds filled the park. Finally, Ethan asked, "But if I stop pleasing everyone, what if they leave me?" The old man looked into Ethan's eyes. Then he said quietly, "Those who leave because you started respecting yourself were never staying for you. They were staying for what you could give them." Ethan felt a strange silence inside him. It was painful, but it was also freeing. Before leaving, the old man stood up slowly. He smiled and said, "Tomorrow, I want you to do one small thing. Just one. When someone asks you for something you cannot do, do not say yes. Say it kindly, but say no." Then he walked away. Ethan stood there alone. His heart was beating faster. It sounded simple. Just one word, no. But somehow, it felt like the hardest word he had ever had to say. He had no idea that one small word would completely change his life. That night, Ethan could not sleep. He kept thinking about the old man's words. You grow into respect. The sentence played again and again. His mind. The next morning, Ethan woke up early. He looked at himself in the mirror. He took a deep breath. "Today," he whispered, "I will try." When he arrived at work, everything looked normal. People smiled. People talked. People laughed. But inside, Ethan felt different. Around 10 o'clock, David walked to his desk. "Hey, Ethan, can you finish these reports for me? I want to leave early today." A week ago, Ethan would have smiled and said yes. Today, he remembered the old man. His heart started beating faster. His hands felt cold. He smiled politely. "I'm sorry, David. I can't do it today. I have my own work to finish." For a few seconds, David said. He looked surprised. Then he frowned. "Oh! Thought you always helped." Ethan stayed calm. "I do help, but not today." David picked up the reports. Without another word, he walked away. Ethan felt nervous. He wondered, did I do something wrong? For the next few hours, he could not stop thinking about it. But something unexpected happened. His work was finished on time. For the first time in months, he left the office before sunset. He walked outside with a small smile. Nothing terrible had happened. The world had not ended. The next day, another test came. His neighbor knocked on his door. "Ethan, can you drive me across town?" Ethan checked his watch. He had an important appointment. He smiled kindly. "I'm sorry. I can't today. But I hope you find someone else." His neighbor looked disappointed. Then he simply said, "Okay." And he left. Ethan closed the door slowly, waited for an angry phone call. It never came. He waited for people to hate him. They didn't. That evening, Ethan sat alone in the same park. He looked at the empty bench. The old man was not there. But Ethan smiled anyway. For the first time, he understood something. Most of his fear had lived only inside his own mind. People were not angry because he said no. They were only surprised. As the sun disappeared behind the trees, Ethan quietly said, "Maybe respect does not begin when other people change. Maybe. It begins when I change." And without knowing it, he had just taken the first real step toward becoming the person he always wanted to be. A few days passed. Ethan felt stronger. He smiled more. He worried less. But life was about to test him again. On Friday morning, his manager called him into the office. Ethan, close the door, please. Ethan sat down. The manager looked serious. I've noticed something. You've changed. Ethan stayed calm. What do you mean? You don't help people as much as before. The room became silent. For a moment, Ethan felt the old fear. Returning. Maybe I should apologize. Maybe I should say yes again. But then he remembered the old man. He took a slow breath. I still help people, but I also respect my own time. His manager looked at him for a few seconds. Then something unexpected happened. He smiled. I'm glad you said that. Ethan looked confused. The manager continued. Do you know why I always gave you extra work? Ethan slowly shook his head. Because you never said no. You made it easy. I thought you could handle everything. The words hit Ethan like a wave. For years, he had blamed everyone else. But he had never set any boundaries. That afternoon, Ethan walked through the city. He kept thinking, people treated me the way I taught them to treat me. It was a painful truth, but it was also a powerful one. Later that evening, his phone rang. It was his old friend. Mark, hey Ethan, I need a big favor. Can I borrow some money? Ethan had helped Mark many times before, but Mark had never paid him back. Ethan answered politely. I'm sorry, Mark. I can't lend you money this time. There was a long silence. Then Mark's voice became cold. So you've changed. You used to be a good friend. Ethan felt the pain in those words. For a second, he almost changed his mind. But deep inside, he knew the truth. A real friend does not measure friendship by what he can take. He spoke gently. I wish you well. But my answer is still no. Mark ended the call. Ethan looked at the phone. He felt sad, but he did not feel guilty. That night, he looked into the mirror again. This time, he did not ask, why doesn't anyone respect me? Instead, he smiled and asked, am I respecting myself today? For the first time in many years. The answer was simple. Yes. The weeks passed quietly. Something was changing, not only inside Ethan, but also around him. People still asked for help, but now they ask with respect. His coworkers no longer left their work on his desk. They ask, do you have time? If Ethan was free, he smiled. Of course, if he was busy, he answered kindly, not today. And people accepted his answer. One Monday morning, something unexpected happened. The company held a team meeting. Everyone sat around a long table. The manager stood up and smiled. I want to thank one person today. He looked at Ethan. Ethan has become one of the most reliable people in this office. He finishes his own work on time. He helps others when he can. And he knows how to set healthy boundaries. That is true professionalism. The room became quiet. Then everyone started clapping. Ethan felt something he had not felt in a very long time. He felt respected. Not because he tried to please everyone, but because he stayed true to himself. After the meeting, David walked over. He smiled. I owe you an apology. I thought you had become selfish, but I was wrong. You've actually become stronger. Ethan smiled. We're all learning. That evening, Ethan returned to the same park. The old man was sitting on the same bench. He was feeding the birds. Again. Ethan walked over with a big smile. I did what you told me. The old man looked at him. And what happened? Ethan laughed softly. Lost a few people. But I found myself. The old man nodded. That is the beginning of a better life. Then he said something Ethan would never forget. When people respect your boundaries, they usually respect you. When people become angry because You have boundaries. They were enjoying the absence of them. Ethan repeated those words quietly. They felt true. The sun slowly disappeared behind the trees. A cool wind touched his face. For the first time in years, his heart felt peaceful. He finally understood something important. Respect is not a gift. Respect is not something you beg for. It is something you build. One honest choice, one brave decision, and one confident step at a time. Ethan smiled at the sky. His journey had started with one difficult word, no. And that one word had opened the door to a completely new life. The next morning, Ethan woke up before sunrise. He opened his window. Fresh air filled the room. For the first time in many years, he felt light. Nothing around him had changed. The same house, the same job, the same city. But one thing was different. His mind. A few months later, Ethan received exciting news. His manager called him into the office. "I have something to tell you." Ethan smiled. "What is it?" The manager handed him a letter. "You've been promoted." Ethan looked surprised. "Me?" The manager nodded. "Yes. Not because you work the longest hours. Not because you always say yes. But because people trust you. You respect yourself. And people can see that." Ethan thanked him with a quiet smile. As he walked home, he thought about the old man. Without that one conversation in the park, his life might never have changed. The next evening, Ethan returned to the park. But the old man was not there. He waited. 10 minutes, 20 minutes. No one came. An old gardener nearby smiled at Ethan. "Are you looking for the gentleman who feeds the birds?" "Yes," Ethan replied. The gardener looked at the empty bench. He moved away last month. "But before he left, he asked me to give this to you." The gardener handed Ethan a small, folded piece of paper. With careful hands, Ethan opened it. Inside, there was only one sentence. "If you want the world to respect you, never stop respecting yourself." Ethan read the sentence again. Then again, a warm smile appeared on his face. He folded the paper carefully and placed it in his pocket. Years later, whenever someone asked Ethan, "How did you become so confident?" he never talked about success. He never talked about money. He simply smiled and said, "The day I stopped begging for respect was the day I started earning it." Now let me ask you one final question. Are you living your life to make everyone happy? Or are you living with honesty and self-respect? Remember, being kind is beautiful. Helping people is wonderful. But never lose yourself just to keep someone else. The people who truly care about you will never ask you to give up your self-respect. And the people who leave because you finally learn to value yourself were never meant to stay. So from today, speak honestly. Be kind. Set healthy boundaries. Respect yourself. And let respect from others come naturally, because the strongest people are not the ones who please everyone. They are the ones who know their worth. Thank you for listening to this story. If this story touched your heart, keep it with you. And remember, never beg for respect again. Thank you for watching. See you in next video. Subscribe.